was a very sad occasion, and it was touching. It was really, it really hit you. That was the early part of the season, you know that. And then, of course, we couldn't go to, because we went to Beersheba, and we went to Bnei Brak. We went to visit the relatives.
Who did you see there?
Well, I saw a cousin of mine.
And how was she related to you, Dad?
Well, he was my mother's brother's son.
His mother Lena.
First cousin. His name was Bain. Baum, he called himself. He was a shoemaker, and he had and he remarried. He lost his family in Europe. He remarried a woman there, and they had two little girls. Then I went to see another cousin in Beersheba. She remarried. She lost her family there, and he was a butcher shop. He had a kosher butcher shop, and she had one daughter.
You know, how was this cousin?
That's Rachel was her daughter.
I met Rachel when I was in Israel in '77.
Yes.
But how was your cousin related to you? Your father's side or mother's side?
On my mother's side.
And her, was she related to the mother or father?
Oh, Haitje?
Haitje.
Haitje was a bone.
A Bain.
Bain. Yes. Was to my mother. Her father and my mother was brother and sister.
So those were the only relatives you had that were in Europe that survived the war?
No, we had, from my dad's side, we had. There I didn't see him until I went to the second trip. The first trip we didn't see, we didn't know about him. They lived in Haifa, but they lived in an out of town there, in a small little district. We didn't know about it until we came back, and we talked to Deja, and Deja kept corresponding with him. He kept sending him money. Had we known about him, we would have looked him up, but we didn't know about him.
So that was on your father's side?
That was on my father's side.
And,
we didn't know about him.
And who were they?
They were cousins.
Cousins to you?
Cousins to me. First cousins to me. They were old, much older than I am. They had married children. And they couldn't speak Yiddish, but they spoke Hungarian and Hebrew.
So they were, on your father's side, they never learned really to speak Yiddish?
Yiddish, no. Mostly Hungarian, Hebrew, or Romanian. But I think they didn't speak Romanian. They spoke Hungarian and Hebrew. So the second time I went there, I looked them up.
What else do you remember about, we'll take a step back. How do you feel seeing your cousins after so many years, people you had maybe you've never seen in your lifetime?
That's true. I really didn't know them. See, Haitje was born after I left. And Zelig was younger than I am. He must have been a baby when I left. So I didn't know them very well.
But, did you have any feelings about them as family, or as the remnants of the family?
Well, it's I guess human nature to have a feeling that way. To know it's your cousin. I happen to know their father, their mother, their brothers. You can't help but have a feeling towards them. they were so happy. Of course, they thought I was a billionaire when I came there. And I gave each one money. And that made me the king of the town. As a matter of fact, they made me promise when their daughter's going to get married, Zelich's daughter, that I was going to go there for their wedding, which I did in '69. You remember?
I remember.
I went to their wedding. And when I came back, he wanted, it was Rosenthal. I don't know if you remember Rosie Rosenthal.
I remember Rosie Rosenthal.
It was her brother. They both passed away, Rosie and, what was his name? Anyway, they both passed away, and the children inherited the money, the building, and so forth. They sold it all. It happened so after we came back. And he wrote me, Zelig, that he has a chance to buy a condominium. He needed $2,500 or $3,000 to buy it. And if I could see my way to ask the family to help. Well, Earl gave me $2,000.
Earl Rosenthal?
Earl Rosenthal gave me $2,000. And the rest was raised another $1,000, the family. I gave a couple of hundred. Uncle Dave gave a couple of hundred. This one raised $3,000 and I sent him the money and he bought that condo.
Well, the family did help out the relatives in Israel.
Yeah.
So you spent about 2 weeks in Israel?
Yes.
And do you remember anything else that was particularly moving to you, or anything you enjoyed very much in Israel?
Well, you mean the second time?
No, the first time we were there.
First time, well, everything was enjoyous. Of course, at that time they had the Mendelbaum Gate. We couldn't go to the old part of Jerusalem.
That was before the Israelis took it in the '67 war.
That's right. And they had a big fence, and I wanted this, they had one of those stone fences, you know, white fences. I went to visit Ehud ben Yehuda. That was the son of Eliezer ben Yehuda. He was the originator of the Hebrew language that's spoken there today.
Modern Hebrew.
Modern Hebrew. He had to invent a lot of words that he never used those in those days, you know.
Like cars, automobiles.
Automobiles and cars and electrical and different things. He had to make up on them. This here, son Ehud ben Yehuda was the youngest one, and he was close to the 90s. He was a professor at UCLA. He married a wife half his age. He had a little girl about 12 years old, 13 years old. She even called my American papa. When I came back, we sent her a whole box of cereal. You know those little packages of cereal?
Mm-hmm.
She asked me to come back to send her a couple of packages. I bought a whole box of cereal. We sent it to them. He's the one who gave me a dictionary that he wrote, and he put his name on it. I have it here. Ehud ben Yehuda, he put the personal monogram, his name on it. So he lived at the top of the hill where he overlooked the old Jerusalem. And I stood over there, I went on top of the fence to take a picture of it. Oh, he right away grabbed me down. He says, "Don't you ever do that." He says, "Because they wait, snipers over there waiting to kill anybody that they can see from the other side." snipers. So we didn't go very far outside of the family there, of course. They had, we spent a week in a resort town. It was called Herzliya. Herzliya.
That was right on the Mediterranean.
Yes, right. It was mostly a resort city.
Well, it sounds like you had a nice time. Must have been very hot during the summer.
Oh yes. And we saw those little kids coming to the beach. And there was quite a few groups that the older children used to take care of. The smaller children used to rope off the beach. They would, the older children would take along the rope, would walk in certain depth of the beach, and they had those little kids come and swim around in there, and all the older kids were standing one next to another, so none of them should be able to get lost over there. And we used to watch those little kids, especially those Arabic Jews, what do you call them?
Moroccan?
Not Moroccan, but there was
Ethiopian? From the
They were
Yemenites?
Yemenites. Most of them were short ones, you know, small ones. And the kids with the payas and the yarmulke. And they went into the water. Every time the waves came in, he grabbed the yarmulke off his head and waited till the water went over his face, then he put it back on again. Those little kids, I had such a big kick out of watching how those little kids held on to the yarn because they shouldn't fly away into the water. And they had a very nice shopping districts over there. Hotels were nice.
So so you spent a couple of weeks in Israel. Then you.
We spent about 21 days.
So I understand that you went to Italy from there.
From there, yes, we took another boat, and we came back to Naples. We spent there 3 days, or 4 days. From there, we took tours every day. We went through, of course, the volcanic, what do you call it, we went to Island Capri, we went to the mountain, what do you call it?
Vesuvius?
Mount Vesuvius, that was the volcano. We went through there, they dug up and they had these rooms where all kinds of statues, there were statues from gladiators all over.
You had your anniversary when you were in Italy.
Yes, we had it in Venice.
Can you tell us about it?
Yes. And you wrote us that time we were in Naples, be sure and go see the Blue Grotto.
What happened at the Blue Grotto?
Well, we had to take 4 boats to get there. At the Blue Grotto was nothing but the sea went into the mountain, and they had only 2 openings that went into that mountain, you know. And how the reflection from the top hit that water, I don't know. But I do know that we only could go, I think, 3 persons could go in a boat, and we had to lay down like this for the boat to go through the hole. But when you got in there, the water was blue. When you put your hand in that water, your hand showed up just like a fluorescent light. there was a young girl, pretty girl, Italian girl. She was one of those bikini outfits. She jumped down and swam around, and, and a couple other joined her, and she looked like it was an electric, just like an electric bulb, and underneath it was so beautiful. And it was quite big. We rode around, all around, and after those who were daring enough to jump into the water, you know.
So did Mother have a good time in that trip?
Yes, yes. As a matter of fact, the man on the guide, you know, when he took the water from the blue water and poured it down on his bosom, down her bosom. So she tells me Yiddish. He says, he's touching my bosom with his wet hands, he's putting the water all over it. So I said to her, it's glasses. She says, yeah. I said, then let him do it.
So you asked her if she enjoyed it? She said, yeah?
Yeah, I said, let him have a good time, let him do it.
So she had a good time?
Yeah, she had a good time. Then we came back. We stopped naturally at those different islands, island of Capri. I think we bought you a set of wooden chestnut.
I still have it.
They had all kinds of tables, all kinds of things.
Tell us about your anniversary. Where were you when you had your anniversary?
The anniversary, we were in Venice.
You remember the hotel you were staying?
I couldn't tell you the name, but it was, no matter where it is, it was all surrounded by water. And we couldn't, because the city was a big market square. Thousands of pigeons flew around there, and they had their open markets. They had all kinds of pictures, especially one place. They had nothing but those canvas pictures piled up one after another, top high. Supposed to be hand-painted oil paintings. And a lot of people bought them over there. I don't think we bought anything because I wasn't artistically inclined. I didn't know which was. So I don't think we bought any.
So what happened special on your anniversary?
Well, after our anniversary, we took a few tours, and then we stopped over on the Mark Square. They had restaurants all around it, open restaurants. We sat down to eat. There was another American couple or an English couple next table to us. He says, you want something delicious over here? He says, what is it? He says, do you like shrimp? So Marcella says, yes. Mama says, yes. He says, take these little shrimps. They're those little tiny shrimps. The way to cook them in a certain sauce. They were very good. And then take this tall bottle of wine. They had a long gooseneck wine. They bought a bottle of, and he says, drink it slowly and eat the shrimps. And the French bread, oh, they had beautiful French bread. Those rolls were hollow and crispy. And we sat down, we had lunch. We had a little more of wine, a little more wine. We finished it. After we got through, we paid the waiter. Mother says, something's wrong with me. I said, what is it? I feel paralyzed. I can't stay on my feet. My feet won't move. Her feet won't move.
Got herself good and drunk.
Yo, well, she didn't feel drunk while sitting there, you know, when she wanted to get up. She couldn't move her feet. So I got somebody else to help me. We picked her up. It's a good thing we hadn't too far to walk. Went to the hotel, we laid her down and she slept it off. That was for lunch. And it was funny. Everywhere we went, we always found either a letter from you or from Phyllis or from Sherman. Letters, you know. You wrote every day or every other day a letter to Chit. and they knew where we were, and they forwarded it to us. So, you know, we even got your letter aboard the train that we were on, in the cabin we were on the train. We even found 2 letters on the train, on the cabin, that you wrote, or Phyllis wrote. Because you wrote them to that company, that Chin. And they saw to it that we had, of course, everywhere we went, we had a guide that took us around. And especially Amalfi Road. That was a very pretty road. It was way on top of the mountain. I think the advertised had 166 curbs to go around till you hit the top of the mountain. And we got on top of the mountain, they served us dinner. Across from the table where we were eating, there was a black couple. And they spoke English, and he was, one word led to another. He says, where you come from? I said, we come from California. How about you folks? So we come from Indiana. What part? He says, Gary. He says, you do come from Gary, Indiana? I said, yes. I said, do you happen to know, remember David Bain? He says, you mean David Bain? They had 2 sons, Sam and Jerome, and Matilda Bain, his wife, and they had the store Lincoln Packing and so forth. He started telling me all that. He says, is that the David Bain you're talking about? I said, yeah, that's my uncle.
So what, I understand you had a big dinner on your anniversary evening.
Yeah. Anniversary evening after Mama woke up, we took a bath, we felt better, and we had no letters or nothing from you. It was kind of disappointing. So they served us, the 7 of us were all sitting at the table, we were eating dinner. It was a beautiful dinner. And just as we got to our dessert, they brought a beautiful cake. I don't have to tell you how they can make those Italians, a beautiful cakes they make. And it was a big platter. All around the platter was the telegrams and letters that you kids sent. And they started, the music came in, the one with the concertina, you know, was playing. And they all sang a happy anniversary to us. And they drank more wine, and they cut the cake, and everybody, Mama was crying, I was crying. We were reading the letters and the telegrams that we sent. And after we got through, we go out, there was a line of these, what do you call those boys?
Gondolas?
Huh?
Gondolas?
Gondolas, but all these gondola men, they all wore those round hats with a red ribbon sticking in the back, you know. They lined up about 6 or 8 on each side, and the boat was decorated, and they all clapped, and they sang. They told me that we just got married. That we just got married. And they had a gondola decorated for us, and the music in the back, and we sat down, and the hero drove us into the night. It was dark. And then they had big boats where they had the musicians. One had the classical music, another one had operatic music, live singers they had over there. Third one was jazz music. They were all lit up with a lot of lights, and these gondolas followed them around as long as you were interested in listening to the music and watch. They were close by to their boat, following him around. And every now and then, he would throw us a bottle of beer to drink, or wine, whatever he had, the gondola man to us. Because we were drunk, we couldn't drink no more. Well, we didn't get, we followed it till about 1 o'clock in the morning. Then he took us home, we went to bed.
Well, that must have been a very memorable anniversary.
It was really memorable because it was a night, clear, and the music was wonderful, and our boat was decorated, and we had a very joyous evening. We were there about 3 or 4 days. From there, we went to Florence.
How long were you on this trip, Dad?
66 days.
And you flew back from where? Paris?
Yeah, we flew back from Switzerland. We were at Lucerne. From Lucerne we went to Zurich, and from Zurich we flew back. We went to Paris, and from Paris we went to London, and from London direct home.
So it was quite the grand tour.
It was. As a matter of fact, it's a good thing you boys had $10, $12 ticket. I didn't have enough to pay for the liquor that we bought aboard the ship. So one of the
Oh, I mean at the airport?
at the airport. So I told him, you're going to be at the airport, I'll give you the money back.
I
I
mean, you
bought-
spent the whole $10,000?
That's right, and I had to borrow $10 to give him for the 10, 12 bottles of liquor that we bought that night.
Well, those were the days you could bring in 5 bottles duty free. They've changed the law since then.
They must have changed the law since then, yeah.
I understand Mother had a little accident in
Yes,
London.
and on London, on the second day, we were in Piccadilly Circus, and the streets were cobblestone streets. It wasn't paved streets. It was with these little cobblestones, you know. And while we tried to cross the street, her heel must have gotten caught or something, and she fell. And she sprained her ankle so badly she couldn't stand on them. So the guide and I picked her up, and we took her into the, they had a Jaguar display showcase in a store where they sold them. And we took them into the Jaguar store, and right away the man from the store right away called up a cab. The cab took us to the hospital, Mom and I. And the guide kept on going without it.
So when Mother left England,
So-
she had a cast on her ankle.
So after she was in there, and the doctor finally came down, of course I had insurance on it. I says, doctor, I have insurance, I want you to take down the number. So he said, no, he says, you don't need no insurance. You don't have to pay anything to state it's the government pays us for that. He says, you can leave your wife here overnight.